Well, the dollar figures get bigger all the time. But the really important thing that's happened, of course, is less the dollar figures, though they're remarkable to me, than the fact that we've basically won the intellectual argument we were setting out to win. This has been the vehicle for driving home the understanding that we have to leave most of the carbon that we know about underground, that most of the world's coal and oil and gas reserves, 80% of them, have to stay underground. That battle's been won. That's no longer me writing in a Rolling Stone. That's now the Bank of England, Deutsche Bank, the World Bank, the IMF. Everybody's using the same math.
How integral to this are developing countries? If you look at those that have divested, they're in Norway, they're in the UK, the US. How do we get those crucial Southeast Asian countries on board?
Well, they're probably not, they tend not to have the same kind of extensive assets to divest. They don't have holdings always in quite the same ways, but the message about keeping it in the ground is as strong there as it is anyplace else.
And what do you make of the assertion by some in the industry that, this is less than immorality and more of low coal prices? It's actually not a bad economic decision to junk coal at the moment and other high polluting assets.
It's a good idea on all kinds of grounds. I mean, yes, you lose money hand over fist by investing in coal and oil and gas these days. And you also lose any respect that you should have for yourself. People who invest in things that destroy the planet are despicable people.
I'm sure you would have heard the comments by Bill Gates that this is a false solution that doesn't actually emit less carbon, and we're wasting up energy of campaigners on this. How have you responded to that?
What Gates said was that he thought if people divested, they should use that money to reinvest in clean solutions. I think that's correct.
Of course, we're here today at Paris. We're expecting to get a global agreement in about a week and a half. What is that going to look like, and will that be acceptable for you?
No. We know what it's going to look like in its broad outlines, where the world will be on a path to increase its temperature 3.5 degrees. So, that's better than going up 5 degrees, but it's still completely unacceptable. It won't work, So the question is not whether it's acceptable to me or anybody else. The question is always, is it acceptable to physics? And we won't be there. Paris is the scoreboard, not the game. We'll have a better idea of how much more we still have to do when we come out of here.
We know in this, the UN can't save us, but it's people. Do you still think the UNFCCC process is fit for purpose, given we know it's putting us on a path to catastrophic levels of warming?
Well, I think we're probably at the point where we're not going to get in the near future a whole lot more out of governments. We're actually going to have to go at the people who own the governments, the fossil fuel industry, for the next pound of flesh here.
How strong is the fossil fuel industry?
It's the richest industry on Earth and the most politically powerful.
Do you think you've landed some good punches on it?
Yes. I think it's much more exposed than it was even a few years ago, and I think it's has a glass chin in certain ways, and I think its back is very much against the wall. It will obviously fight hard, but the new revelations about Exxon make it clear to anyone who's paying even the slightest attention exactly what's going on. This is an industry that has done nothing but deny and deceive now for a generation, and they've wasted 25 crucial years of the planet's time.
There's going to be a mock trial of Exxon, I think, on Saturday. I'm not sure if you'll be attending. But what do you think will be the likely result of this? Is it just going to play out and be rolled into, legal chicanery for the next 15 years, or will we get a result with people behind bars?
Oh, I don't know whether we'll get a result in terms of people behind bars. Rich people write laws, and there's no one richer than Exxon. But I think that the result is already clear. No one has said, the best defense anyone's offered is maybe this isn't actually criminal, only morally reprehensible. This is weakening their power daily.
How have you reacted to certain partnerships by the oil and gas lobby? We've seen a few initiatives towards the Paris climate talks on flaring. They haven't really given many quantifiable targets. There's been a commitment to carbon pricing, but do you think there's anything substantive in those?
Not much. I've been around a long time, so I've gotten to watch BP decide it was going to be beyond petroleum, and at certain moments they don't spend the money. They don't do the. Sooner or later, one of them will, and really demonstrate what it might look like for a fossil fuel company to become an energy company. But nobody's done it yet.
And even springs to mind you see from some of the Gulf states. Again, they don't promise much, but how much of a step change is that based on a couple of years ago when they were barely negotiating whatsoever?
Look, all-out denial is becoming impossible. I mean, since we last met at Copenhagen, most of the summer sea ice in the Arctic is gone. You know, at a certain point, everyone has to become a realist. You know, they'll do it, fight kicking and screaming to, you know, get the last penny they can out of their stuff, but they understand that at some level the jig is up.
Just a final note, I think in September 2014 you had about 50 billion in pledges for the divestment campaign. Now we're on 3.4 trillion. Would you like to speculate on how high you'll be in a year's time by 2016 December?
40 quadrillion. I don't know. It'll be more than it is now.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Bill McKibben.